Having a baby is really hard work. It takes time to grow a little human being inside your womb, and it's very tiring giving birth to that child. And whilst you may think you could be full of joy when you first receive your baby in your arms, and it is a joyful experience, you may be surprised that soon afterwards you could be feeling very, very low indeed. And it's no wonder, because your hormones are all over the place trying to settle down. And if after 2 weeks they're still all over the place and you're still feeling low, then perhaps you may have postnatal depression. And if you feel that perhaps this is something you're struggling with, well, fear not, for I'm going to share with you something of my own story and some piece of advice that was given to me that I was able to follow to come out of PND in a natural way, rather than taking antidepressants. But let me make this very clear from the start. I am not a doctor and I'm not a physician in any way whatsoever. I'm going to just share with you my story. So if you think you are struggling with PND, then I will highly recommend that you go see your doctor, and they may prescribe antidepressants, and that may be the right thing for you at this time. And I'll talk a little bit about antidepressants later on in this video, but I'm going to share with you some natural methods that you can use to help you get out of feeling the postnatal blues, I think it used to be called. So first of all, let me share with you what postnatal depression is. It's also known as postpartum depression. I don't know, is that Latin? Probably. I failed at Latin. It's a university. I tried to do it at university and it was quite fun, but I kind of failed it. As I said, it's quite natural to feel low and have very mixed, strange feelings after you've given birth to a baby, because it's quite a monumental event in your life. The problem is if after 2 weeks your hormones haven't settled, you may be experiencing the following symptoms, which could be considered as postnatal depression. You may be feeling extreme fatigue. Now, I've got to admit, it is so tiring having a baby. And when you've got a newborn, especially, you're having to feed them during the night, whether you're breastfeeding them, or bottle feeding them, whatever, you're going to have to keep getting up during the night. So that's going to have an impact on your energy levels as it is. However, if you're feeling extremely tired, like tired to the bone. Sometimes I felt so tired that even when I'm asleep and I'm dreaming that I'm tired. Have you ever had that you just want to fall asleep even in your own dream? That's just such extreme fatigue and you have no energy for anything. That's one of the signs that you may have PND. You may also be suffering from high anxiety levels, or perhaps you are struggling to bond with your baby. Maybe you're having severe mood swings, and I know that I definitely suffered from that after I gave birth to my baby. Perhaps there's some irritability. That's an easy word to say, isn't it? Maybe there's difficulty focusing, or maybe you're experiencing panic attacks. And again, that's something I definitely experienced during my pregnancy and definitely afterwards. And I got a top tip for that I'll share with you later on in regards to panic attacks, and a very unique way that you can deal with that. It surprised me that how my panic attacks was eased by doing this one thing. So the first thing you have to do is, if you think you are showing the signs of postnatal depression, nip it in the bud. Go see a doctor earlier rather than later don't let all of these symptoms get on top of you, because it is going to have a negative effect on your relationships, especially your relationship with your partner, and also it will have an impact on your relationship with your baby. Now, there's nothing to be ashamed of if you are suffering from PND. That's just a thing that happens. It's an illness, as it were. However, the feeling of guilt can make the situation feel a lot worse. There is nothing to feel guilty about. I understand it's a natural feeling. You know what? I mean, as a parent of only one child, I constantly feel guilty just about having only one child and not giving her siblings to play with. And that's something for another video we can discuss. It's a natural feeling and I understand it. But to feel guilty that you're not bonding with your baby when your own body and your own mind is readjusting to not being pregnant anymore, because you've been pregnant for 9 months. It's quite a long time. It's a big chunk of a year that you are pregnant, so it's going to take a while for your body to and your mind to readjust to that. So don't feel guilty, just sort it out quickly, which means going to the doctor and talking through with the doctor. Now, your doctor may give you a questionnaire to fill in about how you feel, and they'll add it all up and they'll work out whether you're likely to be struggling with PND. If that's the case, your doctor may recommend a number of treatments, including antidepressants. My doctor did that, but it's kind of the only thing my doctor recommended. Like, oh yeah, your PND, here's some antidepressants. But I was very reluctant to take them personally. I wanted to deal with it as naturally as possible. I was a bit scared of taking antidepressants, but I do know that people have taken antidepressants after they've had a baby, or I know, people that have had a really traumatic experience in their life and they've had to take the antidepressants just to keep them functioning, keeping them as balanced as possible whilst they were working through all the trauma. And so it may be for you, an antidepressant is a good thing to take to help level out your hormones, to maybe increase some of your happiness hormones like serotonin. Some of the antidepressants do that. But just make sure you research any antidepressant your doctor prescribes for you, research it thoroughly, and it's your choice as to whether you think it's the best thing for you and for your body. The main thing is being very fully informed before you make a decision. But as I said, I'm not poo-pooing antidepressants. I know that they help people and they're a good thing, but the choice is yours. You just have to make sure you do a lot of research into that, which may be hard if you're suffering from postnatal depression right now. So by all means, talk to your partner about it as well, and talk to other people about it before you go on that particular journey. Whatever you do, whether you take antidepressants or not, here are some other things that you can be doing to help improve your mood if you are suffering from postnatal depression. The big one, and I can't believe I'm going to say this one, is sleep. Yes, just get plenty of sleep. Now I know, and plenty of quality sleep as well. Now I know it's pretty much impossible because you've got a baby, but this is where you have to work very hard with your partner to make sure that you can get enough quality sleep as well. If you are breastfeeding your child, you may need to express your milk, put it in the fridge, and then during the night sometimes your partner can be feeding your child with expressed milk. If your child will have none of that and will only have milk straight from the source, then I recommend you actually have your child in the cot right next to you. You don't have to put them in your bed. Okay, there's all sorts of talk about whether it's safe or not safe to sleep with your newborn baby. If you don't like the idea of that, what I did was I had my daughter in a Moses basket literally next to the bed. So in the middle of the night, she needed feeding. I was like, pick it up, put the baby on the boob, doze off like that. That's literally what it's doing. Then sort of put the baby back when I woke up again. So I was holding my child. She was sucking when she wanted to, and then sticking back in the cot. So that's kind of the way I manage that. Other things that you can do to get sleep is, they say sleep when your baby sleeps. And you think that's easier said than done, because when the baby's asleep, that's when I have to put all the washing on, and there's a lot of washing that you have to do when you have a baby, because they dribble over everything and puke and so you think, I have to put the washing on, I have to clean the house, I have to do these other things. No, sleep when your baby sleeps, and then when your baby is awake, then what you can do is, I wish I had done this, okay? I'm going to put a link for one of these things in the description below for you to use, because I highly recommend it. And I didn't use it, and I've seen other women use it, and I just think I should have done that. I was being a bit weird with it. My mum suggested having some sort of wrap that you wrap the baby in choke to your chest or even to your back. You know, when I've been to Africa, I've seen a lot of women wear their baby on their back, and they carry their baby on their back whilst their hands are free to do other things. I think that's brilliant. So I'm going to put that in the description below. Getting a wrap and making sure your baby's attached to your chest is going to help you, it's going to help your baby, and you're going to be able to do other things, and your baby's still going to feel safe and secure when they're awake because they're next to you. So I recommend that. Any sort of links like this are commission links. So if you make a purchase, then Sops and I may make a commission, but I'm not going to recommend it if I don't think it's a jolly good idea. I recommend it throughout the whole of the website. These wraps, definitely a good idea. So you can do that, and then you're free to do other things, but make sure you get enough sleep. If you go, I'm basically talking based on one of my blog posts about healing from postnatal depression naturally. So I'll put a link to that particular post in the description below, and there's a lovely little infographic just talking about what the benefits of sleep are. But if you get plenty of sleep, that's going to help you to come out of postnatal depression. And arguably, people who have a lack of sleep can easily go into depression. So make sure you get enough good quality sleep, and make sure you don't drink any caffeine. Just have maybe 1 cup of tea or coffee in the morning, and that's it. Breastfeeding your baby, I just talked about that can actually help you to feel sleepy. Certainly worked for me, and I'll talk about breastfeeding a little bit later on as well, but that can actually set off some of your sleepy hormones. Take feeding in turns. I've just mentioned that to you before. If you're breastfeeding, you can always express the milk and putting it in the fridge. Have naps when you can. And also make sure you cut out screen time in the evening. You don't want that blue light affecting your brain and then stimulating your brain. You need to be getting ready to sleep. So don't have screen time at least an hour before going to bed. Go to bed and then read. But I imagine you'll be absolutely bone tired by then and you'll be able to sleep. But just try and reduce your screen time before you go to bed. The other thing is, I don't know, part of me wants to make a video specifically about this, to talk to partners of anyone who's just had a baby, because it's all very well for new mothers to turn around to their partners and husbands or whatever and say, oh, you don't understand, or can you do this? And the husband's not really listening, the partner's not listening. But if somebody like myself, someone outside, say, hey, do this, you can say, hey, watch your Tamsin over there from theonlychildclub.net, And listen to what she says. She speaks the truth. When it comes to dealing with postnatal depression, be really gentle with each other. Be really patient with each other. Back in the day, we would have something like, humanity would have something like a village to support us. We might, if you're lucky enough to live near family, then, you might be able to have your mother, your mother-in-law, whatever, coming in to help take over. And that's brilliant. But if you haven't got that, and that's becoming more and more common, people are not living so close to their immediate family. They don't really know their neighbours. I mean, that's a whole conversation for a whole different video, for a whole different platform, I think. But it is really problematic if you don't have a good physical community to support you. I know people where they belong to a church community, and if someone's had a baby, for the first 2 weeks, the church community take it in turns to make them food, so they have lasagnas and whatever, so they don't have to worry about cooking. I got to admit, those first 2 weeks here in the UK can be brilliant. Like, for example, paternity leave is 2 weeks. So for the first 2 weeks when I had SOPs, her dad was around and it was brilliant. I mean, he cooked the dinner, he was, really there for both of us, and it was brilliant. But then he had to go back to work after the 2 weeks, and I felt very isolated, and oh my gosh, I'm here on my own with this baby, this fragile little human being. What if I may mess up? That was really difficult. So if during not just the first 2 weeks, but extend it, be part of a bigger community if you can, go to all of those parent and baby groups in your area. Then there will be lots. Just make sure that you find out what's available. Your health worker should also be able to tell you what other things are available. And there were, I mean, when SOPS was a baby, I was going to all sorts of things. There was a breastfeeding cafe that we would go to. It was really funny. I'd go to the breastfeeding cafe, but my daughter had been awake most of the night because she was a nightmare. She was colic, screaming through the night, sleep. It was a nightmare. So by the time it came to the morning and me taking her to the breastfeeding cafe, she didn't wake up. She was asleep, fast asleep in the pushchair. So I put her in the pram with all the other prams, just left her there. I sat down, had a cup of tea, went and checked on her every now and again. But there was all these people around there with these health workers there serving us tea, women breastfeeding their babies, having a cup of tea in the morning. That was on Monday morning. That was brilliant. That was such a good thing. I made some lifelong friends attending that particular group. There was a baby rhyme time at the library. There was something in the health centre where they put on all sorts of training about, baby massage and stuff like that. It was great. So even if you're an introvert, something like that may be quite helpful to you. Again, if you're an introvert, something like that might make your P&D even worse. But I would recommend, if you can be part of a community, do so that you are not putting too much pressure on your partner, and their expectations are not too high on you, that you're all getting support as a young new family. I hope that makes sense. So as I said, be very gentle with each other. Find out what each other's love languages are. If you haven't already, you can go onto Love Languages website and do a test. I will put a link to that website in the description below, because I think the love language idea is really good. So you can find out each other's love language, and even if you're going through P&D, even if you're struggling, speak to your partner in their love language, encourage them to speak to you in your love language, and just keep your relationship blossoming and blooming despite all the stress that you have having a newborn baby to look after. Who would have thought that such a tiny little creature could bring so much stress onto onto adults. The other thing to help you heal from PND naturally is to go out into nature. I don't know what it is, but we've been designed to, we're natural bodies, natural minds, and we flourish better in nature. So when you can, go out for walks on your own, or go out for walks with your baby. I used to put Sops into a pushchair. This was when she was a little bit late. No, I used to do it when she was a baby. I used to put her in a pushchair. I used to push her to the local abbey church, where you got the main church and then you got ruins of an abbey. And we used to sit there and I used to read poetry to her while she was like resting in her pushchair. She always slept when she was in motion, so she would just sit in a little pushchair pram, and I would read poetry to her on the grounds of the abbey where I lived, and that was brilliant. That really boosted my mood, and she developed a love for poetry, so obviously that was really beneficial for both of us. But yeah, if you can go out in nature, do so. And if you live in the city, go to a park, hug a tree. Hug a tree is really beneficial. No one's going to judge you for that, especially if you've got your baby there and then you hug a tree and people are like, new mum, she needs to hug a tree. It does boost your happiness hormone levels. The other thing is a pet. If you can and you have a pet, that's always a good thing to just stroke a cat or a dog. It will bring your blood pressure down, make you feel a lot happier if you can have a pet if you don't already. But you have to be careful with a newborn and with a pet, so just weigh the pros and cons of that. But it is good to have a little pet if you can. Something else, you've already probably got your newborn and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going through PND. But if you're actually pregnant now and you're just thinking, hey, I'm just forward thinking, preparing, what if I get PND with this baby, what can I do? Well, be prepared first of all. Do lots of batch cooking before you give birth to your baby. Hopefully by the time you're in the third trimester, you might not be feeling morning sickness anymore to be able to do batch cooking without smelling cooked food and wanting to throw up, which is kind of what happened to me. But do batch cooking, buy everything you think you need in now, so you don't have to panic when the baby's born, but don't buy more than what you need. And I've got a post on the essentials list for newborns, which again I'll put in the description below, and that will tell you everything that you need to get before your baby's born or as soon as they're born, so that you're well equipped when the baby comes, but you're not buying stuff that you don't actually necessarily need, if that makes sense. Have some sort of maybe care plan in place for you and your baby afterwards, talking to your partner, talking about maybe their working routine and how they can maybe reduce hours or change their hours to help you and your baby out. That's going to really help. The main thing is that the more prepared that you are before the baby comes, the more relaxed you're going to be when they come. And you're, hey, everything's already prepared. I mean, you can't predict things. You can't predict the future. Some babies come early, and then some babies come early and then they're in the ICU in a hospital, and you're going to and fro from hospital till your baby's ready to go. But again, if you can be prepared as much as possible, then at least you've got that ready, and that can help de-stress you a lot. The other thing I've written here is don't entertain people. What you might find is everyone's excited. A new baby is lovely. It's lovely holding a new baby. They may all want to come round all at once, and then they may, there's some people who are fantastic and they come round and they really help unburden you with things. They'll come in, maybe they'll have a cup of tea and a chat with you, but they'll also wash the dishes, maybe put a wash on, maybe hang up some of the clothes baby clothes you've already washed. Maybe they'll give your baby a bath. Maybe they'll be really blooming useful. And then there's some people who are not useful. And they come and they expect you to make them a cup of tea, and they stay for ages and they don't help, and then they leave and you're exhausted and they've been of no use to you whatsoever. Don't entertain people like that. Even if you love them, even though if you're a long-term friend with these people, you only want to entertain those who are actually going to be of use to you during this time. So, if they're part of a WhatsApp group, you can put something on the WhatsApp group saying, you're just taking a little bit of time out to bond with your baby. So please, you don't want any visitors at the moment. And good people will understand that and keep away. Okay? But on the opposite, if you feel like you want to talk to someone, you can reach out. Definitely do that. Don't feel like you need to close the door and isolate yourself. You don't have to do that. The other thing is obviously eat well. Be very mindful of your diet. If you have high sugary diet, glucose levels going up and down, those are going to impact your mood swings. They're definitely going to have a negative impact on your P&D and on your mood. So make sure you have a really good balanced diet, but make sure that you keep your carbs low, your sugars low. Make sure you have plenty of protein and good fats. I have got another infographic here, mood boosting foods, which you can have a look at as well. So these are things that are going to help boost your mood as you're dealing with PND. I've said here, seek help, and I'm not going to put a list of other organisations on the description below, but in the blog post, How to Heal from PND Naturally, there are some useful websites at the bottom, so you can go there and to seek help. And you can always, turn to us as well. We have got a Facebook page at theonlychildclub.net. So if you go onto Facebook, you can request to join the private group, and you can share this. And we're a growing community, and we're here to help you if this is something that you struggle with. But don't do it alone. Speak to your doctor, speak to your partner, go on a retreat day if that helps. Take some time to care for yourself, because you can't care for your baby well enough if you're not being cared for well enough. So make sure you take good care of yourself. And these are all things I did to help me get out of postnatal depression. Now, one of the things I said earlier in the video that I was going to tell you that really helped with the panic attacks was breastfeeding. And I know not every woman can breastfeed, and it is difficult for some people, but for me it did work really well. And I don't know what it was, but if I was feeling nervous and panicky and I just put socks to the boob, feeding her, I literally felt my mood, my panic feelings diminish. I was feeling that they were diminishing there and then, and I was feeling a lot better just from breastfeeding. And those stress hormones were easily triggered in those early days. I was a very nervous, panicky, anxious person, and because I don't know why, I think it's just the huge responsibility of keeping a little baby alive, fragile alive, and being so afraid of making a mistake that's going to, render them disabled or God forbid, accidentally kill them or something. I don't want to do that. And I was so nervous of it. So that's why I was struggling with the PND. I don't know if that's something that you feel, but breastfeeding did help diminish those panicky feelings, and it could make me feel sleepy. So if you are able to breastfeed, then definitely keep at it. if you are struggling with that, then I do have a blog post about breastfeeding, and there's some bits about troubleshooting. If you can work your way through that, that would be brilliant. But no judgments if that's not a thing for you. I know bottle feeding is the only option for some people, or the choice, and that's absolutely fine. But from my experience, breastfeeding really did help me come out of postnatal depression. So I hope that really helped. Well, I hope this video has proved really helpful to you. If it has, please do put a like, but much more importantly, please subscribe to this channel. It's still a relatively new channel. I'm still learning and growing and developing it, but it'd be fantastic. You could really support me, Stops, and the Only Child Club by clicking that subscribe button so you can get more very useful videos like this. Thank you ever so much. Toodles!